Hi, this is Zara DeGray, and today I will be presenting the importance of union management relations for Ivana McIntosh's Algonquin College course, HRM 4122, Labor Relations. In this presentation, you can expect an introduction of our topics, current barriers, tasks, and tactics for us to identify and overcome, the importance of a collaborative union management relationship, a proposed implementation plan, and a rationale and benefits to upper management. Before we begin, I would like to point out two very important quotes taken directly from our company handbook. Not only are they important enough to have been included in writing in official documents for the company, but we see support for these items all over the web. Our first item states that an important aspect of effective union management relations is respect. When both parties understand and respect each other's perspectives, it can go a long way in developing trust. And secondly, that HR leaders must understand the workforce and what their needs and wants are, and work with senior management to ensure an open, positive, and collaborative working environment. These items bring about 3 points that highlight the importance of respect and understanding. Firstly, they show us that training on all levels is acceptable and necessary, that our position in the company is not as important as approaching our differences with appropriate problem-solving and conflict resolution tactics. When everyone enters the same learning programs, it fosters a mutual respect for all parties. It reduces conflict and builds trust. Additionally, we are reminded that transparent communication is key. By explaining and understanding everyone's viewpoints, we can come to a resolution and facilitate smoother negotiations. And lastly, we can establish committees that provide outlets for regular dialogue, furthering our collaborative approach. My hope is that the information on this slide is ingrained with management throughout this presentation and onwards. Based on our learnings from the last slide, I would like to take some time to detail a few barriers I have identified, followed by tasks and tactics to overcome these barriers. Firstly, education and training are meant for every member of the team. There is pushback from upper management, proving that there is a gap in understanding the rest of our team. I believe that educating management specifically will help foster a more collaborative attitude. We can do this by conducting workshops, training sessions, hire outside mediators where needed, and really make an effort to build on our conflict resolution, problem solving, and negotiation skills. Secondly, we absolutely need open and transparent communication. This will build understanding, show our team our dedication, commitment, and willingness to adapt, and build trust. We can do this by meeting regularly, debriefing every meeting to solidify our discussions, and becoming available to our team in every way possible, like an open door policy, where all staff are meant to be comfortable emailing, sending messages on Slack and other channels, and even knocking on our doors to talk. And last but not least, it is up to management to promote a positive and healthy work environment. We have to provide the foundation of a collaborative and productive environment if anyone is to follow suit. We can do this by encouraging staff to participate freely in discussions, recognize success when it happens, and implement programs that make our staff happy, like work-life balance, personal well-being, professional development programs, and more. Once we take control of these barriers, regardless of if our team wants to unionize or not, we have a solid work environment where animosity is not welcome and cannot grow. We as management have to understand, accept, and help support our staff's decisions, but provide them with the basics to help them flourish. I completely understand that unions can be a cause for concern for management. However, this process is something that we cannot interfere with, especially with negativity. We can shift our focus and take a more sustainable route by dealing with this in a constructive way. We can build strong teamwork environments by being prepared. Walking into a situation with preconceived notions, little to no research, and no willingness to adapt to the changing climates of the industry will further perpetuate the negative relationship between us and the union. We need to separate personal and professional conflicts in this scenario. The union's interest is in its members, and in addition to our staff, our interest also includes our environment. Regardless of how we want to see it, the fact of the matter is that we share a common goal and should focus our efforts on reaching those goals. We can strengthen communication by meeting regularly. This not only shows our staff that we are listening to and understanding their needs, but also actively looking for ways to maintain a good relationship. And finally, we should always give clarity by confirming every piece of communication. We should listen, validate, explain, and investigate concerns, not shut down at every turn. Some of the most important information for management to consider is in the proposed implementation plan. Our legal obligations are to meet and bargain in good faith and make every reasonable effort to conclude an agreement. Doing so will avoid strikes, lockouts, work stoppage, and other external investigations that will not only halt work, but create extreme hostility between workers and management. We should not want this for either ourselves, but especially our staff. Further, negotiating in good faith will help us avoid unfair and unlawful tactics and negative communication styles to staff that will ultimately make them feel disrespected. And as basic and cliche as this might be to say, but communicating is key. Yet, this is something that is overlooked in many cases. I fear that we may overlook this. So, to reestablish this item into our process moving forward, I would like us to be reminded that this item will lead the way to a successful working relationship between us and the union. As mentioned previously, we can do this by conducting workshops, issuing surveys, accepting feedback, ensuring our policies are competitive and updated to fit the needs of our staff, and continue to acknowledge the union's role in our company as a partner and not an enemy. Collaborating on common goals will help us improve performance, job satisfaction, and reduce retention. By seeking input and implementing feedback where and when possible, we are furthering our efforts to build and maintain a positive relationship with the union and our staff. We can maintain a relationship by remaining consistent. This relationship especially is one that requires constant effort. By monitoring and evaluating our policies and procedures, we can either stay ahead or, as mentioned in a previous slide, be prepared for change. I believe that by removing power dynamics and erasing our negative view on unions, we can open the door to understanding and team building. Management, although in a position of power, should not use that power for total control. If we fall into this line of reasoning, so to speak, we are sure to create a cycle of hostility and grow turnover rates and much more. So it is in our best interest to change our tune on this topic. Besides highlighting the reasons why it is important to change our stance on unions, the purpose of this presentation is also to remind us that there are many benefits to management and stakeholders to consider, like organizational effectiveness, where collaboration can lead to a harmonious relationship, improving our processes and increasing productivity, something that we are initially concerned about. Improved employee satisfaction, where staff are heard and respected. They will feel better about the work that they produce and feel proud to serve their roles and their company. Enhanced communication, where we minimize misunderstanding and reduce escalations. Enhanced decision-making, where everyone works together to reach a common goal. Enhanced conflict resolution, where conflicts are addressed in the early stages and we reduce the need to escalate or create grievances. Trust and mutual respect, where all parties can have a genuine relationship and opinion of each other based on the efforts made in this relationship building process. And cost savings, where less money is spent hiring new staff, fixing avoidable problems, and especially avoiding strikes or job stoppages. In the end, we have two choices. We can either fight against the union and risk breaking laws, losing money, and creating a negative environment where the community will essentially avoid working, or we can treat the union like a partner and work together to make our environment a better place. I hope that I have highlighted some reasonable considerations for you today. I thank you for your time.